Our first presenter, presenting on Texas Mesonet, real-time soil and weather data for practical use at your fingertips, is Lauren Boss, who's the outreach coordinator for the Texas Water Development Board's Texas Mesonet program. Lauren has served the program as a field technician, building new weather stations and helping to maintain the network, and now has the pleasure of spreading the word of Texas Mesonet and the great resource it offers to Texans. Prior to joining the Texas Water Development Board, Lauren worked in environmental education and led youth service learning projects in national parks. She has a degree in environmental studies and sustainability from Northern Michigan University. Please welcome Lauren.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here with you all today. How are we doing on the slides? Yeah. Well, I'll let them work on that, and I'll go ahead and get started. I have a short period of time here. So I want to share with you all about a statewide weather and soil data resource that hopefully is useful to you in your roles as stewards of the West Texas landscape. Tex Mesonet is a network of weather stations, essentially. Mesonet breaks down to mesoscale network, which is just, like I said, a fancy word for weather station network. And what we're doing is, as part of the Texas Water Development Board, building out this network as a resource to you all. And all the data that is collected from these sites is available for free online, so anybody can access it with an internet connection. Key takeaways from this: first of all this weather data is available to you at any time. And also there are opportunities for you to participate and be part of the network if you would like to. This program started in response to the Memorial Day floods of 2015 that devastated the Blanco River watershed. Lots of property damage, but also lives were lost during that time. And so the legislature tasked the Texas Water Development Board with building out a network of weather stations to improve data monitoring across the state so that we can better respond to these kinds of events into the future. One of the big challenges that was identified early on, and there were many, but one of them was simply the size of the state of Texas. How do we build out a dense network of weather stations across this state? We are a small team located out of Austin, so maintaining, building stations all across the state, certainly difficult. So we approached the build-out of this network in two key ways. Firstly, we are taking data from not only stations that we build, but stations from other entities that are collecting data on weather, on soil, and many other Earth-observing parameters. So for example, the National Weather Service has many sites at airports across the state, and those sites and their data is included at texmesonet.org. We have regional and local networks included as well, such as the Edwards Aquifer Authority. And then there's even some specialized networks, such as the Texas Soil Observation Network, that are contributing data to what we call a network of networks. I'm going to say that word a lot. And this is what we are contributing. So the Texas Water Development Board is building new stations across the state in areas that lack data coverage. This is an ongoing project. And what we've done so far is, since 2016, we have built 108 new weather stations, and we are continuously doing so and always finding new locations for these sites. This is what our coverage looks like currently. So all the stations that you see here, all the locations that you see here are our sites. They're also National Weather Service sites. It does not include, however, some of our more specialized networks, for example, that Texas Soil Observation Network that I mentioned, because they're only taking data on one parameter. We're looking for the stations that are collecting multiple parameters or data on multiple parameters on meteorological conditions. And what do these stations include? Well, if you're looking at a Texas Water Development Board site, it's collecting data on wind direction and wind speed, temperature, humidity, solar radiation, barometric pressure, precipitation, and those soil parameters as well. And this is what they look like. So most of our stations are 30-foot tall towers collecting all that different data, and it takes up about a 38-foot by 38-foot plot of property. When we're looking for new sites, not only are we looking for location as far as how far it is from another site, if it's a needed area for weather data, we're also looking at these criteria. So first of all, is it representative of the landscape? So for example, a weather station built in the middle of an irrigated orchard in West Texas, not very representative of the larger landscape. We're also looking for open space, so we want a view of the sky, free from tall trees, tall buildings, and it's a distance away from reflective and heat-emitting sources, so it doesn't interfere with the data. Those three things are pretty easy in West Texas. The fourth one is a little bit more challenging, and that's an AT&T signal. We have been managing, though. And at this point, I invite you, if you want to check out textmesonet.org on your phone, you can go ahead and do that. Type it into your browser or scan the QR code. At textmesonet.org, the way I like to think of it is that we are bringing in data from past, present, and future and making it all available to you. So here is the home page. You can see that we have 24-hour precipitation totals across the state on the view. That's kind of the automatic view that'll pop up. And you can zoom in and look closer, and more stations pop up as you do that. And in this left-hand panel, you can change what you're interested in seeing. So you can look at temperature, you can look at wind gusts, dew points, and many other things. And all that soil data as well is in that box right there. If we zoom in a little bit closer to that left-hand panel, we see we can change up our radar view. We can view historical precipitation accumulations across the state. We can also see National Weather Service forecasts and alerts, change the map layers, and display data, filter out data from particular networks if you would like. So there's a lot of customization that can be done here. Another one that isn't mentioned, you can actually save a view. So if you are interested in seeing the Alameda Ranch Station, for example, every morning when you open up your browser, you can save that view with, let's say, temperature as the first thing that pops up. And this is just an example of the National Weather Service forecasts and alerts page. So all these areas highlighted on the map are areas where active weather warnings or alerts are going on, maybe a flood watch, maybe a wind advisory. So I just wanted to point this one out quickly. And as I mentioned, forecasts are also available. These are coming in from the National Weather Service. And there are several ways to access the forecasts, but you can click on a station if you want and choose forecasts in the tab in that right-hand panel that pops up. And lastly, I want to talk about just the historical data that's available. We make this data available in a few different formats. One is surface maps for precipitation maps from anywhere between 24 hours and 365 days. And you can also download data from any particular site that you're interested in. So that's what this form is here. It is a page on the website, and it'll give you an automatic CSV download of the data. Now, this is something that we are expanding and hope to improve into the future. So in the meantime, if you're interested in using this, having any issues, feel free to reach out to us. The biggest issue usually is that you're wanting more data than we can offer in one download. But we're happy to help. Now, who is using this data? I just have a few examples that I happen to have good pictures for, but there are a lot of people using textmesonet.org. We have ranchers and land managers throughout West Texas who use it to monitor their weather conditions, both from near and afar. We have emergency managers and meteorologists who use this data in response to extreme weather events. That picture right there was a recent extreme weather event, and they have textmesonet.org up and then a National Weather Service product up at the same time. We also have researchers who use textmesonet.org, And I know I emphasize weather a lot, but soil is a big part of our operations as well. So these folks are researchers from A&M taking soil samples at all of the Texas Mesonet sites, and they'll be using the data to characterize soils across the state. And I've also I recently met the Big Bend fire manager, and he said he uses texasmesonet.org in his regular operations. Okay, so West Texas coverage is sparse. If you see here, there's a lot of white on this map, which means those areas are not covered by an on-the-ground weather station. What I haven't mentioned is that all these weather stations complement radar and satellite data, so it's really important to have information coming from all of these things in response to extreme weather. Now, I do have an ask here. If I've piqued anybody's interest in potentially hosting a site, this part is for you. Our land managers that participate come from many different areas. We have private ranch owners. We also partner with nonprofits, such as the Alameda Foundation. We have sites on city parks or in city parks, in state parks, and even utility districts will let us borrow a little piece of property to put our weather stations on. These sites are fully self-contained, so they run off of solar power and a battery, and as I said, that cellular signal. The only thing that we really ask from our partners is for regular site access. We do need to maintain these stations several times a year. We also, excuse me. And there's no cost associated with hosting a site, sorry. So our weather stations are a benefit to the community. Anybody who participates in the program and hosts a site is helping their community out as well. And we are happy to work with just about anybody who is willing to give us a couple of things. There is also no, it's just an agreement, just a land borrowed agreement for that 38-foot by 38-foot plot of land. And any party can pull out of the agreement at any time. Now, we do hope that these stations remain in their locations for many years to come. That helps us build a reliable data record. But again, things change, and we totally understand that. And with that, thank you so much for your time. I know it's a quick presentation, just wanted to introduce this resource to you all. Here's my contact information. I'll be around through most of the day. I will leave a little bit early. And I also have handouts. If you like to have a physical piece of paper with this information on it, I can give you some of that. So thank you so much. I am happy to answer any questions.
Got time for a question or two?
The tower is guyed, I assume. It doesn't look like a self-standing tower unless you've got a lot of concrete there.
There's concrete and there are guy wires.
Okay,
yes.
So is that why you have to have 38 by 38 feet, just to protect the guy wires from cows or whatever?
That, and we do have some equipment on the ground. So our rain gauges, for example, are on the ground, and the fence generally protects if we have sites on ranches, so animals, yeah.
Thank you. I might have missed it, but would you define what your 4 different categories were? I understand that on the site map where you showed Tex Mesonet, Tier 1, West Texas, and approved sites. I understand the Tex Mesonet and what Tex Mesonet and what that equipment looks like. What are these other ones?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's a little bit confusing because, like I mentioned, we're a network of networks. So Tex Mesonet, the yellow, it should be labeled Texas Water Development Board sites. Okay, so Tier 1 networks are other high-quality stations that are collecting data on multiple parameters, for example, National Weather Service sites and a few other networks as well. We highlight West Texas Mesonet because they have such a huge impact in this area, and they're a valued partner. And approved sites are simply future sites that we will be building. So, anything included here would go into consideration if we were looking to build a new site in the area.
So if you're wanting to partner, do y'all have a form on your website that you fill out, or is it just reaching out to you by email?
You would just reach out to us by email, and we'll do some communications back and forth. We're happy to answer any further questions, and we'll also evaluate the site a little bit more closely before we go for it. And then after that, we look to sign a memorandum of agreement.
Sorry, I just took a bite of donut. So the soil data, do you collect that at the same location as the tower?
Yes, good question.
Okay.
That is another thing that we are collecting on the ground. So we have soil data coming in from 5 centimeters, 10, 20, and 50 centimeters under the ground. Of course, not all areas of Texas are we able to dig 50 centimeters down, but that's the ideal.
Okay, one more, we gotta get going. If y'all wanna catch up with Lauren in a bit, you can.
What's the tower height?
They're about 30 feet tall, 10 meters.
Thank you, Lauren, appreciate it.